Steven Universe and all associated images are property of Cartoon Network, Rebecca Sugar, and any and all other respective owners. I don't know them all. All footage in this video has been used for the purpose of critique parody under fair use. Please support the official release. One of the first videos that I made on this channel related to Steven Universe was a supposed timeline of the Gem Civil War. I'm still pretty proud of that video as it is still one of the most ambitious things I've ever made, but I made several suppositions and a few outright guesses based on evidence in the show, which at the time wasn't very much, and I ended up really off the mark. Since that original timeline video, we have learned 3 new key pieces of evidence relating to the Civil War from various sources. First, we learned from dialogue in Back to the Barn that the Civil War lasted 1,000 years. Pearl specifically says that she fought a 1,000-year war. We also know from statements made by the Crooniverse that the gem occupation of Earth is intended to have lasted 1,000 years. Finally, in Guide to the Crystal Gems, the war was said to have started 5,500 years ago. We already knew for sure at the time of that original timeline video from Dialogue in Marble Madness that the kindergarten was established 6,000 years ago. And due to dialogue in We Need to Talk, it is clear that Rose regrets something in her past, something that she directly did to the planet. It is obvious to me now that Rose was the gem who established the Earth Kindergarten to begin with. Between all of these given statements and the statement that the battle at Strawberry Battlefield took place 5,000 years ago, it seems like this timeline doesn't quite match up. That all of these things cannot be true at the same time. However, I think I've worked out how they can be. So here is the revised timeline. In Political Power, Pearl expresses knowledge of humans as hunter-gatherers. Just like in my last timeline video, I assert that this means that the gems must have come to Earth far earlier than 6,000 years ago. In that video I guessed kind of a safe, medium length of time. But for the purposes of this video, I'm going to assume that they arrived just as humans were starting to give up hunter-gathering about 7,000 to 8,000 years ago, as soon after that, hunter-gathering would have been phased out by agriculture. However, just because the gems originally arrived on Earth at this time, it does not mean that the quote-unquote occupation of Earth began at that time as well. Only that a colony was established to research Earth, likely to determine if it was viable as a site for a kindergarten. I think that before Rose Quartz or any of the other gems that we have seen in the show as principal characters arrived on Earth at all, the lunar spire and an associated moon base were built 7,000 to 8,000 years ago to observe the planet. Once the Earth was determined to be a viable site for a kindergarten, about 6,000 years ago, Rose and her branch of Homeworld, that being those under her command, came to Earth to establish the kindergarten. However, during her time here, Rose came to value Earth life, and even came to learn that she had an affinity for plants. Remember that Homeworld doesn't have rain, so it likely doesn't have plant life either. This is something that she would have learned here, assuming that she didn't learn it on another planet first, which is entirely possible. Either way, over the next 500 years, as the gems planted in the kindergarten incubated, Rose, I think, protested the occupation of Earth. She'd grown attached to the planet and had come to regret what they were doing to it. Finally, 5,500 years ago, at the Strawberry Battlefield, which I believe was a location important to Rose, she decided to openly rebel. She had her own followers who sided with her, and it was at about this time that the quartz gems in the ground at kindergarten began to emerge. I think some sided with Rose, while many sided with Homeworld, and the war began. I think that at some point over the next 500 years, forces of Homeworld took the Strawberry Battlefield, establishing the Pyramid Temple as a base of operations there. Meanwhile, the kindergarten was converted into the site of the Artificial Fusion Research Program. Then, 5,000 years ago, in the decisive battle at Strawberry Battlefield, the Pyramid Temple was taken by Rose's side, and the gem that once oversaw it was imprisoned in the pedestal within. If the mural in the temple is any indication, this battle in some way involved the leadership of Homeworld, the Diamonds. Despite the odds, Rose's side still won, driving the bulk of Homeworld forces away from the planet and ending the 1,000-year occupation, but not the war, as remnants of the Homeworld forces remained on Earth, and the decisive battle had resulted in many powerful, corrupted gems being created. Amethyst would have emerged from the ground at about this time as well to find an empty kindergarten. She would have been left alone for the next 500 years as the crystal gems continued to fight the war, rounding up and defeating the last remnants of the homeworld faction on Earth. This gives us our 1,000 year length for the war and explains why Amethyst wasn't found for quite some time. The crystal gems were occupied elsewhere. However, once the remnants of homeworld were seemingly defeated, the surviving crystal gems would have done a check on the kindergarten to make sure that no enemies had made their way back there. This is when they would have found Amethyst, about 4,500 years ago. Unlike with my previous timeline, I'm actually pretty sure that this one is correct. It satisfies every requirement set forth by the facts that have been revealed so far, until even more evidence is revealed in the series or in associated canonical works. This is the timeline that I will use as reference in my theory videos. What do you think of this timeline? Did I do a good job putting it all together, or did I miss the mark? Let's get a discussion going in the comments section down below. This has been AJ22, and I will talk to you guys later.